Good afternoon. My name is Chris Saltz, Principal at Fix Consulting, and I'm going to cover three things today: why, how, and what. Why is this important to you? How we approach it at Fix, and what specifically do we do at Fix? So why are we here? Because we believe there are some things overdue for change based on the rapid evolution in building technologies that has occurred. Number one, building technology is always designed and installed in silos, therefore extra capital expense. Integrate Division 25, just another layer. More CapEx, same problems. Number two, the building operators are left with multiple software platforms and they are too complex and therefore not operated properly after day one, if at all, which of course is why the Building Commissioning Association and retro commissioning industry continues to grow. So extra operating expenses. Number three, the systems are maintained by monopolistic service vendors. Once in, always in. The razor's free, the blades will cost you. Multiply by 5 or 10 vendors, even more operating expense. It's a mess. Number four, maybe the one thing technology has brought to the commercial buildings industry is a brand new vulnerability: cyber attacks. For example, the target loss. 40 million credit cards originated with a BAS breach via the mechanical contractor. Bottom line, the traditional design and construction industry process doesn't work for the software industry, which has radical changes in means and methods every 18 months. So why do these problems still exist? Especially when we were told for the last 10 to 15 years that the answer is open protocols like BACnet or LAN. The reality is that a single language doesn't free the building owner from the service monopoly, because no one but the OEM can procure the hardware parts and software tools necessary. And OEMs have not trained a local community of service competitors on these tools, including needed support for warranty, emergency repairs, or software and virus patches. So what's the root cause? Where does the problem begin? Well, analogies always help me. So let's talk operating systems, or OS, for a second. We're all familiar with computer and mobile OS, and while there's an open or closed hardware choice, there are always open third-party software markets. So whether Mac or PC or Android or Apple, we couldn't imagine not being able to use Excel on our Mac or iTunes on our Dell. And the resulting creativity, well, we use this stuff in everyday life now. Now let's look at the building automation, or BAS industry landscape. Striking differences until Niagara was released in 1999. We will discuss BAS OS in much more detail later, but it's important to first understand the industry, because the OS chosen will greatly affect flexibility, design, procurement, and operations for the life of the building. And there are over 15 building OSs to choose from. All of them are closed but one. Our CEO was recently quoted making clear that this situation is only going to get more complicated with the Internet of Things in buildings, and in the very near future. So how does Fix propose you move forward? By working with a firm that understands: one, IT, software, networks, and cybersecurity, and two, is experienced and knowledgeable on building systems to deliver a single pane of glass to the end user. We are doing for buildings what Apple did for mobile devices and what Tesla is doing for the car. This design philosophy includes a hardware and software stack using standard IT industry software and network components, regardless of building system, coupled with readily available BAS field controllers, BACnet, LAN, or anything for that matter, thus freeing the building owner from multiple service monopolies and simplifying their operation and maintenance of these systems. The final result is a more capable yet simplified system that will be used by staff and occupants and in ways unimaginable with multi-silo systems. Ultimately, a complete design will center around the open OS, include all low voltage subsystems, and include consideration of, or even integration to, enterprise level applications. Why this way? Well, number one, it costs less. Costs less when converged. And note that building owners who currently own multiple brands of technology do not have to replace anything. Just make the next job open and integrated, and the process has begun. Number 2, increased labor competition drives quality up and cost down for both new construction projects and service. Number 3, flexibility and best-in-class hardware drives costs down by competitively bidding for new buildings as well as alterations and expansions. And finally, number 4, flexibility on best-in-class software or apps from a much bigger list at much lower costs, sometimes free, based on what the owner needs and when they need it. Let's get into a little more detail in terms of costs. Consider a typical breakdown of the costs of a new commercial building. HVAC and BAS is roughly 17%, and the BAS alone is roughly 10% of that, or 1%, 1.7% exactly of the entire project. Now let's break down the cost of that BAS project. The OS is only 3% of a typical BAS contract, so 15 grand on a $30 million building. Kind of the tail wagging the dog for something with such a major impact on the lifetime user experience and operating costs of the building, no? And here is where the rubber meets the road on how Fix's approach is so different from what you're doing today. The important stuff in green, the hardware and software stack design that we just discussed, all the integration software and the graphic user interface design are not part of the BAS bid documents typically. This is what the successful BAS contractor develops after securing a contractor as part of their submittals. And if you looked at their submittals, this stuff isn't fully designed still. Often the BAS field engineer is designing graphics during commissioning. Cart before the horse, no? Told you I like analogies. How does Fix solve this problem? By doing this critical design work up front. Typical BAS bid docs today involve a 25-page spec and 3 or 4 controls wiring diagrams. BAS design requires far more, including software flow diagrams, IT infrastructure, and the graphical user interface. Things like continuous commissioning can now be designed from the beginning, saving the building owner money every year by operating the building as designed continuously, and the software wireframes for operator and building occupant applications. The BAS cybersecurity analysis is a project in and of itself, involving close interaction with the end users and must be done during conceptual design. The building BAS designer and installer should certainly be a member of InfraGard at a minimum. So what exactly does Fix do? We are in the technology field for facilities full-time, independent of any manufacturers, but with relationships with all. ABC was established in 1976, CBCS in 1998, and Fix Consulting in 2000. Our holding company, the Totus Group, in 2010. We are independently owned with more than 80 employees, including IT, integration, BAS, and graphic design software engineers. Simply, we design and install facility technology such as BAS, data center solutions, and software as a service programs. We've successfully installed over 2,500 projects to date and continue to monitor many of those. Our core expertise can be grouped into 5 practice areas. Master planning, including change management for a design and construction process for technology, a continuously and rapidly changing field. Data management, acting as an advocate between facilities and IT, which have different needs in terms of data, managing and enforcing a database structure, and different budgets. Software solutions, with a focus on a common user experience. Technology construction management. When asked by the owner, we can CM a project after design using an open book cost plus model. And finally, cost controls, occasionally being asked to get involved in a current campus or portfolio situation with significantly entrenched proprietary vendors. Why do we talk so much about Tritium? Well, as already discussed, it's currently the only fully open OS. It may not always be, as Google and Cisco and many startups are attempting something similar. But some facts about Tritium: it was developed specifically to interface with multiple protocols, normalizing the data. Just about every BAS supplier offers a Tritium solution. More about that in a second. Over 60%, therefore, of new BASs are Tritium environments today. The federal government has standardized, many local governments, many universities around the country. And one thing, Tritium is actually a Honeywell company, although the two are very separate. You'll never see Tritium, a Honeywell company. As I said, truly open is an industry issue, not a technology issue. Proof, all of these firms can purchase and service Tritium systems. Most of the OEMs on this list have even brand labeled Tritium Niagara OS product. For example, Johnson Controls Facility Explorer, Siemens Talon. They just don't proactively promote these OS lines. And the same is true in Chicago. And I could go on and on. So with that, I'm willing to field some questions or discuss some of our specific projects. For example, at UIC, we are the site-wide technology consultant, where we have for years been transitioning this campus to an open operating system environment, and they successfully have done that, and to this day get multiple bids on building automation system jobs. At Harper College, similar situation. However, we act more as the program manager and change manager, as they see BAS as more of an IT procurement, same as United Airlines. They see this as an IT procurement and procure this much more like IT rather than through the design and construction process. So again, willing to discuss any of these customers or other customers or field some questions. Thank you very much for your time.